Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mishel, and today I'm going to be reviewing a batch of books that I read in February. Before we get into this video, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and that like button, and let's start talking about the first book that I'm going to be reviewing. And it's called In Over Their Heads by Margaret Peterson Haddix, and this was the book that I showed for my sneak peek in my last book review. So here it is, and let's start talking about it. First off, I want to start by saying that this book is really exciting. It's a fiction-based book, and I also reviewed the first book because this is a series, and this is the second book in the series, and I reviewed the first book on my channel, so if you haven't seen that video already, make sure you go check it out. And this is not one of those series where you can just start randomly wherever in the series and kind of get a grasp of what happened earlier. You actually have to start from the first book to understand what's happening in this book. Unlike book series like whatever after. Anywho, this book is very exciting, and it's basically the same plot but continued. There is a lot going on this time, and more robots breaking down, which if you didn't know, this book includes robots and humans. And basically in the last book we ended off with the two twins, Erin and her twin brother, finding some papers. And now they don't know what to do with these papers, and they're kind of unsure on what they should and shouldn't do, because if killing all the robots means saving their family, maybe they should do that, but then also they don't want to be harming the harmless robots. So at this point in the story, their stepsisters and stepbrothers have started breaking down, and they're also in the woods in the same place where they found these papers. There's no service. They're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and then they find this girl, and her name's Lita May. And Lita May is a sort of country girl. She's been living out in the woods for all of her life with her family. And Erin and Nick can't help but wonder, what if they're robots, or what if they are the people who wrote these papers, and what if she's scared of us? Because at some point when they first meet her, she actually runs away from them, and I think it's because she was scared of Ava. And Ava is their stepsister, by the way, and she's a robot, and so they aren't really sure what Lita May is, what to do. And one day there's a blizzard that's coming, and Jackson and his dad, which is Ava's brother, so Jackson and his dad, they go out, and they're trying to fix Jackson, because Jackson keeps on breaking down, so they want to get that fixed to make sure that there are no more issues throughout this entire trip. And they disappear, and all of a sudden there's this blizzard coming, and they have to find a way to hide. And at this point, some of the family decides to go run after Jackson and the dad to try and save them, right when the blizzard is about to strike. And Lita May is furious, she's livid, she doesn't want them to go search for them for some reason, and she really wants them to stay in the cave that she's showing Erin and Nick and Ava and everyone else to stay in, to stay safe from the blizzard. And Erin and Nick are also unsure because they don't want to leave their robot parents out there, you know what I mean? Because what if their parents break down, and you know, who are they gonna turn to if their parents go missing? And so this book is just really thrilling and really exciting, and I really think that you guys should read it. It was definitely one of those books that it was told from many different perspectives, but I wasn't like feeling that sort of attachment where I wanted, like, for example, Jackson was saying something from his point of view, where I wanted like Nick to really know what Jackson was thinking. It wasn't really like that, because the book progressed in such a way that there was every single detail included that made the book very interesting. So I would give this book a solid 9 out of 10. Go check it out. Link will be in the description box below. So that was the first book, In Over Their Heads. The second book I want to talk about is called The Dollar Kids. The Dollar Kids, this is the cover, and it is called Jennifer Richard Jacobson. This book is really, really interesting, and something that appealed to me about this book was definitely the cover. I don't know if you could tell, but there was definitely a theme going on with like that gloominess and then some like a spark of red. And I took a lot from this cover and I thought it was interesting, so I picked it up. And what this book is about is Lowen, who's a 12-year-old, and he's really good at art. He really enjoys it. It's one of his hobbies. But he is still suffering from the death of his best friend, Abe. And Abe died in a shooting at the grocery store, their local grocery store at their town, that nobody really talks about, but Lowen is still suffering from Abe's death. And he really feels guilty for it because he's actually the one who sent Abe to the grocery store. So the only thing that could help him get over Abe, and it took him months, by the way, to finally find something that would help him sort of get over the death of Abe, and it was making comic books about what happened in Abe's death, like you know, the shooting and everything. And he sort of, over this time, he sort of created like this sort of movie and this entire book in his head, and so he's making it into a comic book. And there's a newspaper that comes in every single week, and his dad canceled their subscription like weeks ago, months ago, years ago, but they still send the newspapers every single week, and it's a habit of his to go through them. So he's going through this newspaper, as he always does, and he usually goes through them, you know, for like ideas for his comic books, or to like read comic books that are always listed in the newspaper that he doesn't really understand but still enjoys reading for ideas and for his entertainment. But he comes across something that's called dollar houses. And what this is this new idea that has been going around that has happened in a few cities, and it's where they sell like a certain amount of houses, so for example like 5 to 10 or 5 to 8 houses for $1. And obviously these houses won't be in the best condition, but $1 is $1 for an entire house, and that's a home that you can fix, that you can make with just $1. So he decides to tell his parents about it, and his parents think it's a great idea. It's a great way to have a new fresh start. Mom wants to open a new restaurant. She's really tired of like working for her very monotonous and depressed boss. So she thinks that it will be a great fresh start for her because she can not only buy a house for $1, but she can also start her own restaurant, because buying land there for your restaurant or buying like a building there is dirt cheap. So she thinks it's great. And then the dad thinks it's great too, because he can start his own medical care center for people, for the undeserved. That's what it says in the book, which is supposed to be the people who aren't wealthy. And so everything seems to be in order. Everything seems to be perfect. So they all pack up and they decide to go to visit the dollar houses. They meet some people there, these very friendly people who are mistaking them for locals already. And when they come to this town and they're viewing the dollar houses, they're noticing some things, which of course they should have expected, and they were, of course, but it was a lot worse than they had thought. So basically, the town in which these dollar houses are located in has a mill, and this mill was like the whole thing that made this town very special, and it broke down, which is why a lot of people moved out. We don't really know why, which it'll explain later in the book. That's kind of why they're selling these houses for $1, and why buying buildings and land is dirt cheap right now. And these, they're noticing that these buildings are like boarded up. They're like, the paint has been like scrapped off, it's peeling off. Nothing is looking good, but these houses are actually a pretty nice size, but the paint is peeling off, the house is a mess, the front yard is a mess, and all Lowen can picture is him being lonely, sitting on the front porch, sucking on a popsicle, and you know, he didn't want to be that one kid, and it really wasn't the vibe he was looking for. So that's what this book is really about. I thought that the concept was really interesting. A dollar house, sure, I've heard of things like this from like different YouTube videos, like, you know, buying a house for $1, not what you expected, something like that. But I really liked reading this book, and I recommend it to all of you. I have to be honest, it took me a while to kind of get very into this book. but I really liked it, and I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. So that was The Dollar Kids. Here's one more look at it. Okay, now for our third book. It is called Eventown by Corey Ann Hayden. I think that's what it says. So here it is. Eventown is another book that I found very appealing because of the title. Eventown, I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Eventown. I'm just gonna call it that, but basically this book has a lot of things that are even in it. And what I mean by that, which I'll explain in a moment, is that everything, like ice cream flavors, number of houses, all that kind of stuff is even. And it's really weird because nobody would really notice that at first unless you've kind of been there for a few months and you're starting to notice that things are a little weird. And so that's what this book is about, and let me read the description for you guys. So it says, the world titled for Elodie this year, and now it's impossible for her to be the same. Not when her feelings have such a strong grip on her heart, not when she and her twin sister Naomi seem to be drifting apart. So when Elodie's mom gets a new job in Eventown, moving seems like it might fix everything. Life in Eventown is comforting. The kitchen in the new house comes with a box of recipes for Elodie. Everyone takes the scenic way to school. On blueberry picking field trips, every berry is perfectly ripe. Sure, there are a few odd rules, but they're easy enough to explain. Until Elodie realizes that there are only 3 ice cream flavors in Eventown, ever. And they only play one song in music class. Everything may be even in Eventown, but there is a price to pay for perfection and pretending. That's what the description says, and the description itself is very interesting. You could tell that Elodie really has a passion for cooking and reading new recipes, trying out new things. And this move seems to be perfect for her family since her and her sister kind of seem to be drifting apart. And so a new place, a new fresh start, new friends, new school, that just might be the solution to their problems. Mom also found a new job there, so there's no problem with where the money is going to come from. And everything seems very comforting in this town until she realizes that things are oddly weird. Like, there are a few odd rules. There's only 3 ice cream flavors in Eventown. And like, can you imagine only being able to choose from 3 different ice cream flavors? It kind of reminds me of when I was scared to try new things. Like, I would just order the same thing at the same fast food restaurant all the time. And that's kind of what Eventown is reminding me of right now. But anywho, like I was saying, there's only 3 ice cream flavors in all throughout Eventown. And it's just really weird, and she's kind of curious as to why this is. Nobody's really telling her why, and nobody else really seems to be noticing this. So that's kind of what this book is about. It's like a pretty short book, but a pretty enjoyable read. So I would rate it like a solid 8 out of 10. Not bad. Here it is again, Eventown. Alright, last but not least, we have The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. I've reviewed a ton of books from Jennifer A. Nielsen, and before I start talking about this book, I just want to say Jennifer A. Nielsen is like such a great author. Like, every single book I've read by her is so good. And so if you're looking for an author to kind of binge read all of their books, then you should definitely check out Jennifer A. Nielsen's books. She writes some books on history. She writes some books like fiction, just like The False Prince. So let's start talking about this. This was a very, very good book, and somebody was telling me about what it was about. And I was totally pulled in by the description and everything. So basically, what this book is about is there's a kid, and he's at an orphanage, unfortunately, and he doesn't know what happened to his parents, but one day, this random guy who looks pretty wealthy comes barging in, and he points at him, and he says, "I want this one," and he doesn't even bother to ask him, "Hey, are you okay with me adopting you?" Or, "Hey, like, you know, what's your name?" He just points at him, and he says, "I want him." So he signs the papers, he signs everything, and now he's being adopted, and he's really confused because he hasn't been adopted before, and the orphanage is kind of his home. He's really used to how things work at the orphanage, and he has no idea what's happening. Who is this random guy that just barged into my orphanage? So now he's adopted him, and he takes him to a place where there are 3 other people who look just like him. Same age, same sort of face, facial expressions, facial features, and they're all clearly here for a reason. So the guy sits in his little chair, and he sits down, right? And he's telling them that they're here for a very important reason, and they're all looking at each other, they're all confused, they've all been dragged from orphanages, and they're just wondering why they all look so similar. And so this guy has something planned up his sleeve, and what he wants to do is, a really long time ago, about 10 years ago, there was this prince, and he was out sailing across the waters, and he unfortunately drowned. And they never found his body, but the court declared that he was dead. So now what this crazy rich guy wants these 4 boys to do is compete for a few weeks. He wants them to compete in like math and like learning physical things like PE and all of that kind of stuff. He wants to see who is the best at everything. And whoever that is, he says, you are going to go to the court and you're going to tell them that you're the lost prince, because all 4 of these boys look like really similar to the lost prince. And it's been a while too, of course, so it would make perfect sense for the prince to just show up, maybe looking a little different because clearly he's been through a lot. And that's what he wants them to do. And all of these boys are looking at each other like, I don't think I want to do this. And so one of them speaks up. He says, I don't really want to be getting involved with this kind of stuff. Can I go? And the guy is like, yeah, you can just walk right out. You can go back to the orphanage. And the boys are just like, they're probably about to do it, but they're watching him, watching to see if anything will happen. And the boy is about to walk out when the rich guy nods at one of his warriors' guards, and they take out their bow and arrow and they shoot the innocent boy. And all the boy was trying to do is get back to the orphanage. So now all of these boys kind of have no choice. It's either death or play along, and so they obviously have to choose to play along. So that's what this book is about. Very interesting plot. I really like this book. Definitely a very interesting description. Again, Jennifer A. Nielsen is just a great author in general. So I would give this book a solid 9 out of 10. Here's one more look at The False Prince. And yeah, so those were the books that I read in February that I wanted to share with you guys. You should definitely consider reading these books, as I enjoyed reading all of them. And as you guys know, I have a sneak peek to my book reviews where I show you guys what the next book I'm going to be reviewing looks like. And it's called Dancing Home, and it's a very nice cover, and it's by Alma Florida. So look out for that video. I post every Sunday, so make sure you check out my page. If you guys have any content ideas for me, make sure you let me know in the comments down below. I love you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys next Sunday with a new video. Bye guys!